Doing very well. Good evening, Julien. How is life in Paris? How's the life of Julien?
Well, the life of Julien is always great. I'm always
Fair enough.
almost always in good mood. Almost always full of energy. Everything is very good, and it's actually so good that I don't even have a recent story. But
You got a nugget. You got an old one, it sounds like.
Not just that, but also I made a promise to you, actually. So I'm gonna have to keep that promise. I told you, I don't know if you remember, I told you a few weeks ago a story about how my car just broke down, and I was in front of that castle, and the guy at the hotel picked me up and actually gave me the car keys to go to restaurant with my wife.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a great story, but I started that story by telling you my car actually broke down, and that's a story for another day. Well, today is the day.
Today is another day. All right. I remember actually at some point you mentioning it was a customer service story that literally had life and death in the throes.
And you get it right.
Can't get any better than this. I'm all ears. Let's go.
So the biggest difficulty in that story is to keep it short because there are a million parts of it. So I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. So here I am, back to France, 2017. I haven't been around for 10-ish years. My wife and I, we move into a new place, and we decided it's about time we buy a car. Why? Because when we lived in Hong Kong, literally everything is reachable by bus, taxi, train, metro. Right. But once you're in France, unless you are in Paris city center, hell, you're going to need a car. So we decided to buy a car secondhand, but we don't buy it from an individual. We buy it from an actual reseller, and their job is to take the car, clean it, repaint it if necessary, make sure it's 100% safe, make sure that the mechanics are perfect and everything, and then only then get you the keys. And you have so many regulations around this that it has to be great. They normally cannot fuck it up. Normally being the key word here. So we get the car. For whatever reason, I can't remember why, but we bought the car nearby my parents' place, probably because there was a great deal there, but not nearby my place. So it's roughly 4.5 hours drive from one to the other. So we take the car, buy it, pay it, take the car, and drive back to my place. Unfortunately, it's raining very heavily at that time on the highway. So first thing happened is the right window, which is an electric window, does not close anymore. So we drive for 100 kilometers with window half open, which is beautiful and does rain.
Which is not what you expect from this heavily inspected, guaranteed to be perfect.
Exactly, not quite. So we stop somewhere, and by some manual way, we find a way to kind of close it so that we're dry. Get back on the road, and unfortunately, with the storm and the rain and everything, it's raining, but it's freaking hot out there, so we have to turn on the AC. Now, after 10 minutes of AC, my wife said, "Do you feel it's normal that I have water going up my feet?" And then after another hour of drive, she had water all the way up the ankles. So I start, we arrive home, and I start complaining to the broker, and I tell them, look, there are a bunch of problems with your car. Don't worry about it. Just bring it back. We'll fix it. Look, I've been driving 4.5 hours. There's no way on earth I'm bringing it back unless you're 100% sure you're going to fix that. So we go back and forth, but honestly, not my first priority. We move on with our lives. We have a weekend plan for beautiful castle a few days later. So we just take the car and we drive again for 5 hours. Now, what happens in... We drive, we make sure we don't touch the window because we don't want to have any closing problem. We make sure we don't turn on the AC because we don't have a swimsuit with us. And then we drive, and almost arrived after 5 hours drive. We hear something under the car, like something, like if you were driving over, I don't know, some bits of metal, and you hear something that clunks under your car. And my wife say, well, there's something wrong. Something happened. Don't worry about it. We just drive over a stone, and there's just a stone hitting the bottom of the car. A second one, a third one, a fourth one. My wife say, I'm telling you, there's something wrong. And being the optimistic person I am, I keep saying, don't you worry about it. It's just a few stones on the way. Now we're about 1 kilometer away from the castle, and the road is going a little bit down, just a few percent, and it's curving a little. And I tell my wife, look, I don't have brakes anymore, and I can't turn the steering wheel anymore. I think we're having a problem here. So lucky enough, we're just at the castle. I managed to pull the steering wheel hard enough so that the car turns. Luckily, we just got out of a village, so we are going very slowly, but I have no control anymore over the car. We just arrived in some kind of parking, and I just managed to stop the car with a handbrake.
So that worked at least. Oh my God. Wow. You're right. This is life and death.
So we survived it. But what actually happened is, after getting, I'm not going to get into all the details, but we get we get the guys coming on and helping us and checking it. Basically, the brakes, what do you call that in English? The stuff you put on the other side. Anyway, some pieces that helps you fixing it just fell, and that's what we heard. On both sides, on both wheels, they did not tighten them properly.
Oh my!
So both of them fell. 4 of them fell on both sides of the car, and the brakes with the speed just locked the wheel so that you could no longer brake. It would have no impact. You could no longer turn either because the brakes were not at the right place anymore. And basically, if that had happened 15 minutes earlier on the highway, well, that would have been a bigger problem because, no brakes on the highway can be kind of an issue. And you don't want to use a handbrake.
Just a little bit.
So, all right, life and death experience. We get through the whole stuff. I told my wife, look, I'm going to leave a message to the sales guy. I'm going to leave a message to the garage. And I'm going to try not to worry for the whole weekend because that's our weekend. I'm going to deal with this Monday.
And you're looking forward to the owner of the hotel his father treating you like kings and all of that.
Please check episode, whatever number it is. Now, Monday arrives and I have no news from the sales guy. And I'm wondering, are you guys taking it seriously? So now I start calling and raising my voice quite a bit. I don't want to talk to the sales guy anymore. I want to talk to the director. It's a franchise, to the local owner. And I'm telling him, look, how bad would it be for your business if I was talking to the media about how you almost killed myself and my wife? Should we make it big or should we find a solution to fix it? So the guy becomes apologetic immediately. He gets the car paid. He paid for our train tickets that we had to take to return home, right? Because no more car. Yeah. He paid for the taxi. He pays for everything. He get the car fixed in his own garage, and he admits that there was human mistakes, and he fixed this. But all of this through, the original conversation I had on the phone with the guy, you could feel the fear in his voice, and therefore, I'm going to be on it. Don't you worry about it. But after that, I had to send emails and SMS and call them so many times for them to actually get it fixed, return the car, speed things up, pay the bills, and so on. Ultimately, they fixed all of it. But I was incredibly pissed because they did not truly apologize for any of it. They did not really offer a real explanation. They didn't. I mean, they paid for the different reparation fees, obviously, but they did not even give me anything of compensation. At the end of the day, I was not just forget about the fact that we almost died, but we didn't even have a car for like 3 weeks or a month because they were repairing it and they did not offer any replacement. We were so pissed about it. And the fact that they did not offer any compensation of any sort or even proper apologies, like the sales guy should have, at least called and say
horribly. He should have been crawling on glass to you.
So not sure I would have needed that, but but anyway, now anyone who's asking us where to buy a car, the answer is usually I can't tell you where to buy, but I'm going to tell you where not to buy, and that's always a great story for any dinner because I usually go in more length than what we've explained today. But terrible customer story. Now, just summarizing it, human errors happen. Meaning the guy who made the mistake was a junior, apparently. At least that's what they kind of explained. That was a junior. He did not finish the stuff properly. He did not close the AC, putting the cap back on, which explained why the water came in. He did not put the screws correctly, did not tighten them, which explained why we almost died. It did unplug some stuff for the window, which explained why we could not close it anymore. So there's an explanation to all of that. And him being junior, shit happens. Human errors happen. But poorly managing that should not happen. And that was a big frustration. That was like a year ago, but I still I still feel incredibly angry about the whole story.
Yeah. The first word that comes to my mind is lawsuit. I don't know how it is in France, but in the US, I mean, uh, you may know, obviously you don't want to go down that path or go through that pain, but I can't fathom if it was me that I would ever want to get in that car again. I certainly wouldn't want to own it. I wouldn't want it to be my car.
Well,
You know, and
let me answer these two things. First of all, we thought about the lawsuit. It's not as common in France as it can be a sport in the US.
it is a sport in the US. That's a fair way to say it.
I didn't want to go there for two reasons. First, because I would be lazy about it. I know it would take me 5 to 10 years to get anything, and I don't want to go and talk
Yeah.
to 100 of
Yeah.
lawyers and just the
Right.
pain of it and the paperwork. That killed me before it even started. Second thing is, that would be a revenge, but what do I actually want? I wanted them to just apologize. I didn't need any extra money, and it definitely didn't need any 10 years to wait for that money. I just feel the service was bad. Does it require a lawsuit? Maybe I should have. I just didn't want to go there. Now, for the second part about not owning the car, I'm going to make sure my wife doesn't see that episode because she has been telling me ever since, we got to resell this car. And I was like, after everything I've been through, it's finally fixed. It finally works. I'm not reselling this car. We're going to use it until it dies of its own death. But you're probably right. I should probably have done something about it. But again,
Well,
it's all about
if
laziness.
it works and it's the car you want, there's no issue with that. I just how you can anyway be cavalier about such a thing as that. And it was a junior. What does it matter if it's a junior guy? You don't have backup quality control on your junior guys. You don't have a senior guy that's inspecting what he does. If he's a junior guy, and it wasn't like, I don't think those are understandable mistakes,
No, well,
especially the brakes.
and when you have 3 mistakes in a row, it feels like sabotage more than actual mistakes at some point.
Really does. Really does. That's
So what do you suggest they should have done differently? I mean, I mean, there's some obvious stuff they should have been doing, but okay, shit happens. Human errors happen. That happens to you. That's your business. What do you do differently?
So there are 2 threads for that question. One, or for my answer to that question. One is absolutely you apologize and take ownership of the issue and make it very clear that this is not how we do business. This was a one-off. And I mean, maybe they didn't do that because they were worried about liability in saying that, but I can't fathom that.
And actually, just because I didn't mention that, they didn't take ownership of that until I took a third-party garage to sign off on what actually happened, what the problem is actually, and then I had that proof from a third-party vendor. And at that time only, they had to accept that they had some responsibility in that thing, which was even more terrible because I could not believe I had to justify this.
Yeah, that's left me speechless. That's just, and you know me, I'm not speechless very often. What? That's nuts.
Yeah, it pretty much is. But sorry, I stopped your chain of thoughts. You said that there was 2 levels here.
2 levels. There's the, just the handling you as a customer, and they're lucky to have a customer who really just wants them to take ownership and apologize. I mean, the only thing I can guess is they weren't doing that because they were worried that would be admitting liability. I would have been even like, let's do something over the top generous. We're going to give you 50% of the car back. And oh, by the way, here's a little non-disclosure agreement that you're not going to sue, agreement you're not going to sue us, but do something I would have taken a tack. And again, lawsuits France, lawsuits US, maybe it's less of a threat. They're not, but then they should just frickin' apologize. The other, I think the more important, and maybe this is the thing that would have been nice to have them communicate to you, is what are they doing to make damn sure this never happens again? and making that, internally, because this literally, I mean, if you guys had been mangled in a horrible car accident, that would have been millions of dollars. And yeah, they got insurance and everything else, but still, that's, A, do you want that on your conscience? And B, as a business, so
And
to me,
there's one more thing here, and I think that's probably part of it. Doesn't explain everything. This is part of it. The fact that the person who dealt with me was a sales guy. But should he be the sales guy? Meaning that the sales guy had done his sales, he got the commission out of it. I should have had a different contact for any follow-up. Someone who actually doesn't get commission on sales, but get commission on, customer satisfaction, an account manager of some sort, a customer success manager, whatever you call it for a car placement.
I know. All right, I bought a car from Carvana, very similar company. You pick it online. They actually delivered it. It was a very positive experience, and I've talked to them, some of their customer service people over the years, and they actually have a problem of getting their customers after the sale to stop calling the salespeople and start calling the service people. And they do a lot of very active things to get people not to call the sales guy, not to work with the sales guy anymore, to work with the service people. So they literally structured themselves that way. And I think you are spot on. And I think with a situation like you had, it should have been the VP of customer service for that region, or at least, somebody very high up that you had a direct line to at that point. I mean, I just, again.
Because the thing is, the sales guy was incredibly lovely and helpful and nice until signature. And then afterward, that was like, there is no problem. I think you're just exaggerating. You have water in the car? Come back. We're going to fix it. The window doesn't close? It's okay. You almost had an accident. Are you sure you didn't touch something on the engine or something? Because it doesn't sound like a mistake we would have made. I mean, it completely change of tone. But yeah, well, at the very least, I can tell I'm not a repeat customer. That's at least I guarantee.
It sounds like you've successfully stopped a couple other people from becoming potential customers. So
I think I did. Well, look, I that was a pretty big story for me. I took much longer than usual, but honestly, that could have been our last story. So I probably had to share this one. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your advice, and I'm really hoping that those people listened in and will somehow fix it, because that should never happen.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I hope it was helpful. Sounds like it's a story you've had to tell multiple times, and and good is the wrong word. It's a strong story. How about that?
It's a strong story. I like that.
Story.
So I will be looking forward to your strong story next week, Max. And in the meantime, have a great day.
All righty. Thanks, Julien. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.